everyone, I have here the V-Cube 4. The company was kind enough to send me one a couple of weeks before release. And this is a puzzle that I've been waiting around 4 years for, so I am very excited to open this thing up. Alright, and here it is. They sent me the pillowed version first because apparently they're more popular than the cubic ones, but I'll be reviewing that one soon later on. Okay, nothing in the bottom part, so it's all on the top. Alright, and here it is! Cute little thing. So, ooh. It'll be very interesting to see how they keep that illustrious inner layer in alignment as well. But yeah, so far turning pretty well. Let's see, do they have lubricant inside it? Not sure about that. Now this cube has a lot of competition out there, and it's debatable about whether some of that is legitimate or not, but it'll be very interesting to see how it compares to that once I have it fully broken in. So the cube seems to be handling quite well. There's definitely no clicking mechanism, which is awesome to see. So we'll be sure to solve it quite a bit and get back to you guys after a couple of days. Alright, I've probably given this 30 to 50 solves, and I must say, I am pleased with it. It turned very well out of the box, and it has only improved since I've been playing with it. This was actually surprising to me, because other V-Cubes really take a long time to break in, but this one, I was really enjoying it as soon as I opened it. Now, upon closer inspection, it did come pre-lubricated, but I took it apart a few times, so I went ahead and re-lubricated it with Lubix. As for corner cutting, it's what you'd expect. It can cut at fair distances, but what's more important is how well it cuts it, you know, through speed solving, and this is very smooth. It even performs well through any intersection. And I will show you how the cube performs during the parity algorithms. I chose these because it's a good mixture of inner and outer layers. The other one. So yes, very smooth and very good at clean corner cutting. The only other legitimate 4x4 that comes close to it is the Diane Plus MF8 4x4, but this one tends to pop and it has kind of this clunky feel. The V-Cube 4 is just so much smoother. I have not tried the X-Cube 4 because I haven't really heard anything spectacular about it, and I think it uses a mechanism that's a variation off of the V-Cube mechanism, and plus it's about the same price, so I'd rather just go with this cube. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how this compares to the knockoff ShengShou 4x4, and I am having a hard time trying to decide which one is better, so I'm just gonna go with that they have equal quality at this time. Though once I get the cubic V-Cube 4, I may change my mind on that one. But there's little point even talking about this cube because it did steal the V-Cube mechanism. There are differences in it, but the core concepts are the same. If you want to know what I mean, V-Cube was the first to come up with this conical design here. It's what makes the cube turn so well. You can even see they used it in the V-Cube 3 here as well. Traditionally, cubes like the Diane Plus MF8 just have this flat side to it. There's no angle that goes down into the core. And of course, in the ShengShou, it's got that same conical design. So if you've ever wondered on the legitimacy of the ShengShou, hopefully that cleared it up for you. Now I suppose this is as good a time as any to show you the mechanism. You may have seen this large bump here, and if you have seen the mechanism of the X-Cube, you'll notice that this is a very similar design towards it. And what I mean by that is a good even layered cube uses the odd layered cube that is one layer just above it. A problem that this poses is what to do with the inner layer that's hidden below all of the other pieces. You'll have no control over this layer, so if it gets out of alignment like this, then your cube is gonna lock up. Now you may have seen in my V-Cube 6 mod tutorial that I glued two pieces together up here as well as gluing pins around it. If you haven't seen that video, how the pins work, as I can demonstrate on the V-Cube 7, is, here's the two glued pieces, is the pin will stick up from the rivet into the top pieces. That way when you go to rotate this layer, the inner layer will go along with it. You can even see the pin sticking up right there from the rivet. And what the pins also do is they carve these notches into the center pieces. And if you look at the V-Cube 4, you'll also notice that it has this extension coming from the center that does not rotate with the rest of the piece. And even on the center pieces, they have these circular notches that very much resemble the notches the pins carved. So it's looking very much that the V-Cube used my mechanism, but they're actually not the first. The X-Cube 4 that I mentioned earlier uses this exact same design. So it's pretty cool to see my pin modification being implemented into the cube. Would have been nice if both companies had given me credit for it, but I'm not worried too much about that. I suppose there is a slim chance that the V-Cube company did come up with it on their own. Alright, so I'm gonna take the rest of the cube apart so that you can see the whole mechanism. You can see in the core that there are notches here that prevent this main section from spinning. And then this is what it looks like when you extend it, when you put tension on the spring. And one thing that I was very pleased to see when I first took this apart is that the core is adjustable. So you can see that it is indeed a screw here. And this is quite refreshing to see because all of the original puzzles of the V-Cube 5, 6, and 7 used rivets inside there. So it looks like the V-Cube company is listening to customer feedback and implementing this into the cubes. And another thing, if you do for whatever reason want to take apart your whole core, I was also pleased to see that these notches are different sizes, so you can't put it on the wrong direction. All of the bumps have to be oriented a certain direction for the inner layer to stay in alignment properly. So you can see that there's always bumps on the right side, which will mean that the core will turn with the right side of the cube. And that is the same with every axis. They're always either on the left or right side. You'll never see them on both the left and right sides, which would cause a lockup. And another fun little feature is they added these little bumps on the rotating pieces so that it kind of snaps up there, which makes it a bit easier to assemble. Now, one thing that I found very interesting is that there are no molded pieces to the core, and what I mean by that is these pieces glued right here, like I showed in the V-Cube 6 mod. Both the ShengShou and even the Maru Cube use that technique. That's directly from my modification. And then they use these little hooks down here to keep the inner layer in alignment. Using hooks or bumps like these isn't really an option for the V-Cube company because the large inner edge pieces get in the way of the small inner pieces, so it can't really be hooked onto anything down here. But the problem with combining both glued pieces to the core and these bumps is that you will have conflicts. If, for example, this piece was glued over here and then you swung the layer around to the other side, then you'd have a glued piece over here which would keep the inner layer in alignment on the left side, but this bump right here would keep the inner layer in alignment on the right side, which means that you wouldn't be able to turn it at all. The pins work on the V-Cube 6, as I'll demonstrate on the V-Cube 7, because it only affects the top axis. On the V-Cube 4, it'll also affect the right axis as well. And the reason why you can do this with pins is because they're thin enough to go between the two layers. These bumps aren't. They have to be much thicker if it's going to be a reliable mechanism. So the whole bump has to be pushed to the right so that it doesn't affect more than one centerpiece. But this causes the bump to affect more than one axis instead. However, just using bumps on all three axes, there's no need to glue in pieces that would just get in the way. So it's definitely an improvement on my pin modification. There, so the next thing I'll do is I will give you two saws. That way you can judge for yourself the quality of the cube. Okay. Where is that? Oh, it's hiding it there. Alright. Where are you, Red? There you go. Oh, gotta love G-perms. I never do them the right way. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, I'm not terribly fast at the 4x4, so I don't really feel like I can do timed comparisons, because I would need to do a huge average to get anything accurate. But yeah, this is definitely gonna be my main speed cube. I definitely would recommend it. It costs 20 euros currently from vcubes.com, and with shipping to the US, that's about 12 euros. But their shipping is through UPS and only takes 3 or 4 days to get here overseas. With the current exchange rate, it's pretty pricey, right at about $42. But when I got my first VCube 6, I paid $102 for this thing, so this is bound to go down in price. Once it gets on Amazon, I would guess it would be between $20 and $30. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting this cube. It'll be out in both the pillowed and cubic versions, as well as the black and white ones. I'll have the link in the description once they become available. So if you guys found this review helpful, you can check out some of the other reviews I made in this playlist right here, and if you like, you can even subscribe below to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching.